Hey, welcome to Tabletop Skirmish Games. I'm Lee, and in this video I'll show you how I speed painted my 20 Hobgrots from the Dominion box set. With 20 Hobgrots to paint, I didn't want to mess around, so in this video I'll show you how I did some quick and easy speed painting with mostly contrast paints, and here you can see them all on the Hobgrot merry-go-round, all painted to a tabletop ready standard, and I went really fast through these with some simple techniques, so hopefully these techniques will help you get your Hobgrots battle ready as quick as possible. Here's the Hobgrot we'll use as our example in this video, and he's all ready to go, and I've primed him using the Citadel Colour Wraithbone contrast undercoat, and I find this the best for this contrast method that I use. The paints we'll be using in the video are mostly contrast paints. We'll also use some shades as well and a little bit of dry brushing, and the brush I mostly use is a Kolinsky synthetic number 2 size, which is great for this kind of work. Okay, let's get started with the contrast Snakebite leather, and I'm using a different brush to get going on the base here. This is just a large cheap brush with a huge amount of bristles, so we can really get a nice amount of paint on here, and I've got a nice wet brush so I can really get that paint spread around nicely, and this is just going to be one coat of Snakebite leather all over the base, and I'll put a link in the description below so you can see how I made the bases for the Kruleboyz. But here are all the Hobgrots now, all lined up, and I've done that Leadbelcher on them all. So the method here to get this done quickly is to just do one colour and do it on all the models. So I've gone through all 20 Hobgrots, and now they've all had the Leadbelcher on the base. So it's time to move on to the next paint. And that is the base paint of Leadbelcher. And so this is going to go on all the metallic parts of the metal. And this was probably the most fiddliest and longest part of this whole paint process. So I was really happy when I finally got all the models coated with their Leadbelcher. But I'm taking my time, you know, although the tabletop ready and with speed painting, I don't want it to look scruffy. So I want to make sure I'm well in the lines. And if I take my time doing this bit, I don't have to go back and touch up too much with the base paint of Wraithbone later on. So it is important, although it's speed painting, to take your time and do it neatly, because that will actually make the job go a lot quicker. And so I just settled in, put some podcasts on, and got cracking through all of the models, doing this Leadbelcher stage on each of them. And so just patience is the key, really. And if you get fed up, just take a break. You don't have to like plow through the whole thing. So there we go. And this guy has got a helmet. You'll notice about half of them have got helmets. So I'm just going over the helmet here with this other guy. So he's just standing in just to show you how I did that. And so I'm not worrying about going on every single part of the model like and all the edges too much, because once we start putting shades in, we can cover that up. And there we go. So that's all the metal work done. And again, this is the longer stage. So once you get this done, you're good to go, and it gets quicker from here on in. Next, we're going to do a coat of contrast Plaguebearer flesh. And don't go crazy here with the amount of paint you're putting on. You don't want to swamp it at all. We're not using this to give us any shade or any shadows. This is just going to be a base colour. And this colour is going to come through from the later stage we do later on with a shade. And then this is going to give us like a little highlight colour really, and just set the tone for the piece. So, you know, just one nice even coat all over all the skin areas that we can see. And there's quite a lot. So again, this is quite a big stage, but much quicker than that Leadbelcher. We really don't have to be super careful here with the contrast paints. It's nice and fluid. It likes to run in the cracks and crevices, and so it really is a great paint to work with and perfect for speed painting like this. And here you can see they're all lined up, and so this certainly didn't take as long as that Leadbelcher stage, but still a big chunk of the work. And so once you've got that Leadbelcher and this Plaguebearer flesh done, you're really good to go. Our next paint is a contrast Gore Grunta fur. This is a great brown colour that we're going to use on all the leather parts and most of these tassels that you can see dangling down. And this is like a brown, but it's got a bit of an orange colour to it. And so that's going to contrast really nicely with that green. And those two are going to work together and complement each other. So I'm just giving a coat all over. Again, don't put loads on, but start and end your brushstroke where you want most of the paint to build up. We do want to use this to give us a little bit of shade in the recesses, and so use the texture of the model to get that paint off the brush, and then just push and pull the paint around, getting it to settle exactly where you want it to go. So I've got a little bit more paint on my brush here than I did when I did the Plaguebearer flesh, but I'm still not flooding it, and I'm still being careful to keep it within the lines. Next, I'm going to take some Agrax Earthshade, and now I want to make sure that Plaguebearer flesh is completely dry before we do this, and painting 20 models at a time there's a good chance that will happen. By the time we get back round to the first model, it's pretty much dry. So that's one of the beauties of speed painting. You can really get through a good number of models, and usually I only do like 10 for a warband, so this is the most I've ever painted at once. And I've got to say, I was glad when it was finished, because there was a lot of repetitive painting, but I'm really pleased I did them all in one go. It saved a lot of time, and the end result I was really happy with, and having so many models on the table just looks really cool. So anyway, so here we go with the Agrax Earthshade. We're putting a little bit more of this on than we did with the Plaguebearer flesh. And again, you want a nice even coat, push and pull it around, start and end your brush strokes where you want most of the paint to pull up, and then to pull and get it in those recesses. But just like the contrast paint, this really wants to go in there. So those recesses and texture of the model really suck the paint in, and then that's going to give you all your shade. And doing this over the top of the Plaguebearer flesh is a really nice recipe for a dirty kind of green colour, and I think it works really well for these Hobgrots, and it's going to contrast against the other Kruleboyz that I do. They're a much brighter green, and I did do a test Hobgrot who I painted a bright green, but I didn't like the look of the skin. You can see here it's just too bright. It didn't really work, so I tried it with Agrax Earthshade on these, and it was a lot better, and I was really happy with how they come out. And again, a close up here, you can see it's a huge difference, and I think that dirty green, really, that olive almost green, really matches the look of the Hobgrots a lot better than that bright colour. You might like the bright colour though, and if you do, then basically go with the Plaguebearer flesh, nice even coat, and then put a Bale Tan green shade over the top. And I got that recipe from the painting coach who introduced me to that in one of his videos, and I thought it was awesome. That's my go-to Orc and Orc skin tone now, but for these guys, a little bit dirty I think really worked. Now we're going to go with Blood Angels Red, another contrast, and this is just going to go on the handles of all the swords and blades. So anywhere you can see a handle, where they're holding the weapons, you don't really see a lot. I'm not going to do it on these kind of bombs that they throw, so mostly picking out the handles of the weapons, and then a little bit here on this dagger he's got. So I'm being really careful just to get that in. I don't want to make a mistake here and have to go back and go through all the stages again on this little piece. So I've been really careful. And on some of them I painted some of the tassels red, just so there's little glimpses of red throughout the army, and I think that's really going to tie them in with the rest of the Kruleboyz and their red scare shields. Then I took some Gryph-Charger grey, and again make sure your Leadbelchers completely dry before you do this. I'm just going over with almost like a wash of this colour, and this is a real pale colour contrast paint. Some of them are really strong and rich, but this isn't. This is a real pale, it's like a blue grey, and this is going to match closely to the images that were provided with that Dominion box set. Then I'm going to take some Nuln Oil Shade, and this is going to go on all the other parts, like the weapons that we didn't put that Gryph-Charger grey on. So just going over all that, being quite generous here because we want it to go into those recesses and give us lots of shade. And that's going on all the weapons, the handles, that grenade. Don't forget the knives and blades they have on their back too. Then we're going to take some technical paint, Nurgles Rot. It's a glossy paint. You can see I've got a huge amount on my brush here, and this is just an old ruined scruffy brush, and I'm going to put big dollops of this Nurgles Rot on the base, and this is going to give us that swampy look, so it looks like it's all wet and gross and gunky on the base, and that's going to tie in with the others too. Then we take some Stormhost Silver, a layer paint. I've got this very vegan makeup brush. It's got super soft bristles, perfect for a bit of dry brushing, and then we're going to load the bristles up with the Stormhost Silver, work that paint into the bristles, get a little bit more on there, dot it in, then move it around and try and get most of that paint off on the kitchen towel. Then we're going to go gently at first and just go along all the edges and raised areas of all the silver parts of the weapons and the armour. So where we put the Nuln Oil and that Gryph-Charger grey, make sure that's all completely dry before you do this stage. Then it's time for some Mournfang brown base paint. And I'm going to get my big chunky vegan brush again, put some blue tack on the end, and that blue tack's going to stick to the underside of the base of the model, and that's going to give us a little turntable so we can easily paint the rim. And then you would just have to spin that turntable. You can almost keep your brush in the same place, and we're going to give two nice even coats of this Mournfang brown on the rim. So let that first one dry, do the second coat, and then we're all finished. And there we go, this is our Hobgrot all painted to a tabletop ready standard with mostly contrast paint, and we've speed painted all 20 of those Hobgrots all at once and got it done pretty quick. It took a few hours and a bit of patience, but it was well worth it. I'm really glad I did them all together. I'm really happy with how they turned out. I think they're going to be really fun as part of an army for Age of Sigmar. I can't wait to get playing them. And here they are all lined up, ready to go. And you can see there's little bits of red on the tassels there coming through. And this guy, I put a bit of Nurgles Rot on that gunk dripping off his sword as well. And I thought that was a really nice touch. And the guy with the big bugle going on, that red really kind of changed things up a little bit. And I like that. And there's some real character with the faces. But I think that recipe of Plaguebearer flesh with Agrax Earthshade works really nicely. And here on the banner, I just used some skeleton horde for the skull. And over that metallic Leadbelcher, I went with some Nazdreg yellow and then an Agrax Earthshade. And that gave a nice metallic look. So here they are again, all lined up. And the end result, I'm really pleased with. I'm glad I went for that dirty green instead of the bright green. I think it suits them a lot better. And they're going to look great compared to the other Kruleboyz. So all the paints we use in this video, I'll put a link in the description below. I'll list them all and then put that link to Element Games, and you can save up to 20% there on all your paints, your game products, your models, and everything you need for the hobby. And there'll be an affiliate link, but it won't cost you extra. In fact, you save that 20%, and for every sale made through a link, I get a small commission, which helps me do loads of videos, develop the channel, and I really appreciate that support. So thanks so much. If you'd like to see how I made the bases for the Kruleboyz, then there's a video on my channel showing you how I did that. Again, quick and easy, doing it in bulk, doing them all in one go. So that video's on the channel. But I've also done the same thing for the Stormcast Eternals. So if they're more your thing, you can see how I base them. And the paint videos for those will be up really soon. But let me know in the description below who your army is going to be. Do you prefer the Kruleboyz or the Stormcast Eternals? I've also done some videos for how to paint the Killer Boss and also the Murknob with Belcher banner, and I'll be putting painting videos up for all the models from the Dominion box set over the next week or two, so keep checking in for your favourite models and how to paint them. But that's it, there's our how to speed paint 20 Hobgrots, and I really hope this video has helped you out, giving you some ideas of how to get your miniatures tabletop ready really quickly and easily with some contrast paints. But thanks so much for watching. Please like if you like it, subscribe for more videos like this, and don't forget to hit the notification bell to join me next time on Tabletop Skirmish Games. If you like this kind of content and would like to support the channel, then please check out my Patreon page, and thanks to everyone who's joined so far. It's really awesome. We hang out on Discord, talk about the hobby, share ideas and help each other out, and you'll get some perks there that you're not going to find anywhere else. So I'll put a link in the description, and it'd be great to see you there.